If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Hey guys, welcome to another. I screwed that up, but that's okay. I'm gonna roll with it. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Peer2Peer. My name is Jay, and today's special guest is Yasmin. Yasmin, how are you doing today?
I'm all right. How are you?
Not too bad. You want to dive right on into this?
Let's go for it.
All right. So, tell me your story with mental health. Like, what do you deal with?
Mental health wise for me, it's stress and anxiety and probably a bit of depression in there as well.
So, sorry about that. My phone went off.
It's okay.
Yeah, this is already going off to a great start.
That's what great starts are for.
Exactly. Can you tell me a bit more about your anxiety and depression? Like, what does a typical day look like for you when you deal with that?
It's mainly the kind of thing of just like, so one of the big things about me is that I am technically on the autistic spectrum, and very much of just like I have basically I have a language disorder, and that's on the autistic spectrum, but it's also known as hyperlexia, and not very much, not very much discovered in the UK, very much discovered in the US. But when it comes to things I say to people, like conversations I have with people, like social interactions, or if it's a typed message, or if it's just like one of those kind of conversations you read and it's just like, am I reading into this correctly? Am I reading into this right? Kind of like those voices in your head just going, these are the things you should be worrying about.
So in essence, you're kind of like the guy in that one Vine video where the gal goes hi, and you're like, okay.
yeah, pretty much. My head is basically that.
Thank you for the humor on that, by the way. So how difficult is it for you to like communicate with people? Is that something you struggle with because of it?
It's a communication disorder, so it's very much I've had to learn from it from my parents, and then basically my housemates said you can't learn everything from your parents, you're going to have to do the research. So I've been doing that, and like one thing I've realized is a big thing, and this is what got me in like anxiety, where my anxiety came through in university a lot, was basically I don't know when I'm understanding something, or I don't know when I don't understand something. So the tutors expect you to go straight to them if you have a problem, and it's just like, but I don't even know if I have a problem. I don't do I understand this? Am I going about this right? I'm sure I'm going about this right, and then I go back to them, and it's like completely wrong.
So it's like you're constantly second guessing yourself.
Yes, very much.
Dang. So how do you cope with that? Like, what kind of coping skills do you have?
I try to go about things as I normally can, like try to like in uni when I was coping with it, they had a disability setup where I could sit with my study skills tutor and they would pay for it, and basically just sit with them for an hour, discuss little bits of things, and just like go through things like how to structure writing and everything like that, because a mix of hyperlexia and dyslexia, they're a great combo. They're really, really. Oh, don't know how I've not cried. Like, it's difficult when you just like sat there with somebody trying to help you with writing, and it's just like, okay, I've got to understand this. So I've got to write down what I do understand and what seems clear to me. So I've got to look at it and just go, okay, so what's clear to me in this? And how do I go about it? I'll just go about it like this.
Mm.
And I try and time everything, schedule everything properly to do it. And that's the best I can really think of doing.
So there's some unpredictability with it then.
Yeah, there's unpredictability and there's do I or don't I kind of thing.
Kind of like all a matter of like, am I in the mood for this today, or do I just say fuck it?
It's just like, do I look at my ceiling or do I look at the thing I need to do? I'll look at my ceiling.
That's relatable.
Yeah.
um, so tell me about like dealing with that and then going to school. What was that like for you?
It's something I've had to slowly figure out because when you always go something and you're just like, okay, I'm aware, a little bit aware of this. You don't think it's a problem. You don't think it's a problem when you sit down and it just seems okay and it's just like, okay. Then when you become more aware of it, then you realize, shit, it's a problem. And then you have to deal with the mental aspects that come with it, like the anxiety of just like, do I, don't I, what? Then the depressive days of just like, can I even just be bothered anymore? And then the stressful times of just like, I've got to get this done, I've got to get this done, I've got to get this done. All of those thoughts and all of those little things just running around in your head constantly, and you're just trying to figure it out slowly. And then somehow I got through the 3 years and then tried to get through a master's year, and then it didn't go as well as I planned, unfortunately, but you try, and that's all that counts with it. All I've had to do is try.
So did this make it difficult for you to form friendships or anything like that, like at university or growing up?
um Friendships, it's when it came to friendships, I didn't really think about it. When you think about the disability and then just like things in general, it's kind of like, uh, well, you just think you're talking to people and then you don't pick up on the little things. Like, I remember being bullied just because I didn't know what a virgin was, and everybody else would tease me because of it, and I wouldn't get it. And I would just be like, oh, okay, you can laugh about that all you want. And then I look at it later and I'm just like, that's why they were laughing at me. They're children. Like, you think about it in the future and you're just like, okay, why did I even? And then when you're a child, it's a completely different perspective, like from when you jump up in age. And like friendships, I've gone through quite a few friendships,
Mm.
and I'm happy with the friendship I have with my housemate right now, because she's literally said, okay, sit down with me, figure out what your shit is, and tell me how I can help. When you have a friend like that who's just like very sassy and just straight to the point of just like, come on then it's great, especially as they're willing to just go, I can put up with you and I can put up with your bullshit, but you've got to let me know how I can help you. You can't just give me a blank slate. And she's very blunt and to the point of basically, this is what you're doing, and it's kind of dicky. And this is what you're doing, and it's kind of shitty. Like that, when you have someone who's being straight up and honest with you, even and is not treading around something you don't understand or something you do understand, it's kind of refreshing.
So how important for you is it to have that kind of stability, would you say?
Quite, because like one of the big things is that I don't know when I'm doing something wrong. If I'm not told that I'm doing something wrong, then how the hell am I supposed to fix it? Is the biggest thing I have. Like, if I'm doing something wrong, please tell me. She's not afraid of calling me out on my bullshit. And that's the best thing you can have. Like, if she's literally saying, not gonna lie, gonna come off as a bit of a dick here, but you're doing this. And I'm just like, oh. And then she's just like, you might not know you're doing it, but now you know. And I'm just like, cool. I'll fix that.
Well, you seem to handle like feedback with such grace, because I know
I
there's quite
didn't
a.
at first.
Yeah.
Honestly, I didn't at first.
Oh,
Like,
really?
I always took everything to heart just because of how I grew up was like I was very much in the bullying mode, and everything that was negative just tore me down. Like I was being had stones thrown at me
Ooh.
constantly every single day. And there were always comments tearing me down, calling me a freak, calling me a germ, a witch, which I took into my future. So, haha, go fuck yourselves.
Plot twist.
Haha, I'm glorious. This is me now. I don't care. And like honestly, all of that, and then just like trying to figure out things like growing up as well with my like in my home life, and my parents just going, "You've got to stick up to them. You got to," and it's just like, but they're not in my situation. When you have someone who's been through kind of like similar things, but sometimes in a harsher route or in a less harsher route, they're just going like, I can relate. And when you can relate to someone, it's kind of like that thing of communication is very valid. And like you hear from each other and like are just like, you want someone to be brutally honest with you? I can do that. Like, if you're not brutally honest with each other and just like saying to each other, you need to do this, then where can you start, or where can you even go with it?
Mhm. That's a valid point. I could see people though, not to play devil's advocate or anything, saying like, well, then you're kind of putting yourself in the hands of others if you're constantly looking to them for validation. So how do you like interpret that?
I wouldn't say I'm looking for validation like necessarily, because what like it can be interpreted like that. I completely agree with you. But when you get told you're looking for validation, the way I have to think about it is just like, I've got these friends
Hmm.
and they're looking out for me if I make a mistake. I'm happy to make those mistakes and I learn from them. And if I don't know that I'm making those mistakes in the first place, then what the hell else am I going to do?
Mm.
It's the knowing that's the big factor. Like, I'm not validating everything. Like everything I love and everything that I like stand for, like comic books and video games and everything, that's all mine. I don't need validation on what I like and what I love. The only things I need the knowledge of is whether I'm doing something right or wrong.
Mm.
Just because it would just go, okay, what do you think? What do you think? And then I make my own path from that.
So having that feedback is very important to help you determine like, all right, this is how I'm going to go about my day, or this is how I'm going to go about my
Yeah,
situation. Got,
exactly.
gotcha. So not to detract from that, but going back to you mentioned that you have depression, and I'm just curious, like, how does that go hand in hand with the other conditions you face?
The depression bit, like, even though I'm not officially diagnosed, like, the one thing is you only know you're having a depressy day when you're not getting up to do something anymore. And I felt that a lot of the time with uni because I basically wanted to, like, in a pandemic with trying to do a university degree, the depression keeps itself there, just like, hi, I'm here. And like very much you're in bed longer hours, you're sleeping more during the day, you're like up a lot more in the night, and then your sleep cycle goes out of whack, and then you're trying to handle going to work, and it's like one of those things where you just can't be bothered to do anything anymore because it's just one of those things that like you can't address or just go, I don't even want to.
Mm.
So
So
it's
how?
very much one of those.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So um, kind of a same question I asked earlier, like, what are your coping skills for that?
I try and get myself up as early as possible and try and set myself things that I want to do. Because at the end of the day, I want to make myself happy by doing things I want to do and not having any second guesses, any second opinions. Like, if I just like, for one day, like, for example, if I want to do some art for a little bit and then just go out and have a walk, I can do that. I can just go, okay, I'll have an afternoon walk and then just do some drawing and then just go, okay, I feel like cleaning my room today. I'm going to do that. I feel like doing the dishes. I feel like it's when you've got to feel it. And if I feel like doing something, then I'm going to do it. And even fitting it around work, because it's just like, okay, a day where I get to go and earn some money, that's fine. I walk in, simple as that.
So it's easy for you to compartmentalize. I hope I said that right. Like your tasks.
Yeah, definitely. Especially if I set myself like the right ones that just go like fit to what I like, who I am as a person and what I want to do with my life is the biggest factor of that all that because like even though I grew up on sports, I ended up in art and like through this great big curveball at my parents, just like, yeah, no, I don't want to be a sports coach. Give me a paintbrush.
Oh man, that not to go off on a tangent, but that's relatable. My folks are like, "You're gonna be a forensic psychologist. You're gonna do all this stuff," and I'm like, I'm an art major. Hi.
Yeah, that, yeah. But it's everything that fits with your personality that you say, I want to do this. And like when you encourage yourself to want to do things, you slightly get over this dark cloud in your head that's just going, I just can't even today. I have no spoons to function.
For people that aren't familiar with spoons, do you feel like you have the capacity
Yeah.
to explain that?
I do have the spoons to explain this. So basically the spoon thing, and this was what my housemate explained to me, is basically you have an amount of spoons to be productive in your day. And like it's all metaphorical, of course. Basically just like you can literally say to someone if they want to just run at you and tell them problems, it's just like, I don't have the spoons to do that. Or it's just like, I'm going to use this spoon for doing this spoon for doing this, and then you've got a certain amount of spoons left to handle kind of like what you want to do with your day.
It's like a currency in a way.
A currency in spoons. I'm just waiting for that one day where someone will actually get some spoons out, just saying, this is how many spoons I have.
I love the spoon theory myself because there are days where it's like you said, you have that dark cloud, you just can't do it. I like to use hit points because that seems to make more sense over here in America, at least, because people look at you funny and they're like, spoons, what the are you talking about?
Whereas in this house, we just say spoons.
Which I like that. Um, so you haven't been diagnosed with depression, but it is something that that you struggle with, that you deal with.
Yeah.
Was this something that um, was always difficult for you growing up, or was it something that kind of came at you at later on in life?
I think when it comes to like the dark clouds of I can't even like what I think is basically I've had it like when I was little, just like I can't even do this. I can just sit here and watch TV instead or do that and like not even touch any of this. But it's the realization of when you get into later life and then realize this is a thing. Because I would have never thought depression as a word when I was like a child. And I was just like, okay. And then when you learn about depression, when it gets to those little mental health things of just like, you can always go and visit the counselor. And I'm just like, for what? Like, what for? Because it's being aware of all this, because I'm not like one way that my when I was in college, which was sixth form year, and I went to get myself dyslexic tests. Basically, I always thought of myself as not smart and just like, I don't know this, and this. And then when they came back with the dyslexic test, just like, yeah, you are dyslexic, but you are a smart person. You have a normal IQ. It's fine. You're smart. And it's just like, but I wasn't aware of all these things. And it's just like, has it ever been brought to your attention? And I'm just like, no, not really. So it's kind of the thing of just like, when you think about what's been brought to your attention and what hasn't, is a huge contributing factor.
Gotcha. It kind of goes again hand in hand with like your roommate, for example, telling you, hey, this is what's wrong.
Yeah.
This is how you can fix it. That sort of thing.
Yeah. This is what you need to do. Grow up. No.
I think we could all use that. Even
but
us,
we don't want to grow up.
even us so-called 40 somethings and up.
Yeah, just everyone being told once in a while, hey, you need to do this, kind of. Why? Because it's important. Yeah.
It's like you need it to survive in this day and age. I'm so sorry we messed it up, but yeah, if we can't go back to saber-tooth tigers killing us, we have to go with capitalism.
That. I love that so much.
Yeah, hot take of 2021. Anyway, so another question that I had for you is, do you ever feel like you need to go get help for what you have, or do you feel like you have a pretty good foundation on what works for you and what doesn't work for you?
See, the thing with me is like at one point like during uni I did get help. I did go to the well-being team, but the thing that I felt was all I got sent around in was circles. Just like, you need to go do this, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. And then you're back at point one. And it's just like, oh God. And then after, weirdly enough, the advice that I've taken from my friends has helped so much more than like a professional has for me, like personally, just because they're the people that care about me and know me very well. And they know what would be best for me. And like, if I sat in a room with a therapist and just divulged everything, just like, oh, let me tell you about my life. And then it's just like professional opinion. And I'm just like, but what if I've already tried that? Because I got recommended meditation at one point, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm a person that doesn't really relax as much. My brain is always on red alert. So I don't think meditation's going to do anything. And it didn't. So I'm not a Zen person. I'm not one of those people who's going to go and buy a yoga mat and just like start doing meditating or the downward dog pose or anything like that. But when you have friends that understand everything and just go, okay, so let's make a list, let's make some rules, let's sit down and make a schedule or something like that. Because literally we've done that. We've sat down, made some house rules before. We've sat down together and just gone, okay, everyone has an issue. Let's talk about it. Because communication is the highest thing you can do. It's the best thing you can do.
I agree with you on that. And it's something that I wish that more people, would try to get better at. Because,
Yeah.
yeah, because I don't know about you, but I feel like even with this day and age, with how connected we are with social media and all that, there are so many gray areas of communication. So,
Yeah.
yeah, kind of getting back on the topic, but also jumping into this, like, how does somebody like you that deals with mental health, and you deal with all this stuff, how do you handle social media? Like, is it more complex for you, or is it easier for you?
In social media, you always think you've said the wrong thing. And for me, it's one of those things where I just type something and I'm just like, okay, does that sound right? It should sound right. Okay, I'm just going to post it and see what happens, and that's fine. And then just like hide for about half an hour and then just see, oh, I do have responses. Oh, people do like that. Oh, And it's just like, it's appreciated because at the end of the day, I know that I'm not going to get like 1,000,000 or 1,000 likes or whatever. It's just appreciated whether something is liked or an opinion is liked. It's like an appreciation, like, it's my opinion, but if people agree with it, that's great. If people disagree with it, okay, sure, that's fine.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
like,
you
yeah.
can say your piece, but definitely just like I'm validated to my own opinion, and I'm gonna let you speak on yours. Because it's one of those things where negativity happens on the internet a lot more than it does in person. And online bullying was a horrible thing. I still remember some of the times where people just looked at me and basically just typed in a message to me, "You're ugly," and just got like commented on my looks, and I'm just like, okay, yeah, that's just petty.
Do you
Like,
still, oh, sorry.
no, it's fine. Yeah, basically it was just those comments, and like when I saw them as like younger, I'm just like, thanks, I'm gonna go cry in a corner now. When I see them now, I'm just looking at them, just going, nah, I look like me. I don't look ugly. I'm just me. And me being myself is beautiful. And it's the best mindset that you can have, because especially if your housemate is basically just going to you constantly and just going, hun, I'm going to keep on telling you you're beautiful until you believe it, and you better believe it soon. Because if someone's trying to encourage you to love yourself, then what do you need of all those people that are telling you you're not good looking or you're not worth it?
Mm, that's a good mindset to have, especially just navigating all the bullshit that happens online.
Because it's a big thing of self-esteem.
Yep, totally. So, do you still continuously deal with that kind of shit online or not as much?
I haven't dealt with it for a while. I've the only thing I've dealt with is basically like trust issues. One thing is just like when people talk to you and people say, you're great and everything, but, and then like you become friends with this person still, and it's just like, do I really trust you though? Would I really spend time with you though? Like, it's a whole thing of like trying to figure out who your real friends are. And I've gone through moments where I've just dropped a friend because it's, you've either felt like they haven't been there for you, or it's just like it's been them talking to you majorly, or them doing things they want to do on your days or stuff like that. And like there have been a lot of moments where I've had those kind of interactions with people where they have said stuff about me, and they've just said, I feel like you do this. And I'm just like, well, that's not what I'm trying to do. I don't know where you're getting that from, but I'm just trying to do this. And it's very much the backwards term of just like, oh, so you do this for this person, but you don't do this for me. And it's just like, since and when do I have to do the same thing for everybody? And also, how close am I with you and whether I trust you or not?
Mm.
It's a whole kind of thing of just like how you look at someone and just like, you've not slagged me off, but I can trust you. No.
So, would you say that trust is something that's hard or easy for you to come by with people?
Sometimes, well, I've gotten a bit more guarded with my trust, because like I have had situations where I've let my guard down and told people something, and then everything's gone out of hand, and then it becomes a rumor just like that. And I remember that was a thing when I went into a university society, and then people just like drama central, and then you're just like, how have I stayed here for this, like, really? And honestly, like, it was, what, when I look at it as I've left, it was a toxic environment. It literally was a toxic environment, and I don't realize until later on, because it's just like how much drama was talked about, how many people got slagged off, how many people cried, how many people got upset. That was not a great environment.
Mm. Would you say that's pretty typical at like university?
for you?
Societies and being quite cliquey and some toxic, yes. It's one of those things of like, even though you want to find the right people, they're hard to come by. Like, you can look at a person and just know that they've basically said something about you, and then they go off with another person. It's just like, yeah, you two deserve each other. That's fine. And then when you find the person that's willing to actually sit with you and get to know you and just go, okay, how can I help? Because when I had my housemate, like my two housemates that I live with, I trust them quite well just because they were willing to sit with me and just go, okay, I want to point out some stuff to you, and I also want to address these with you, and also, how can we help? Because they're willing to sit down with you and actually get to know you and just go, okay, so this is a thing, this is a thing, and this is a thing. It's the whole context of just being able to fully say to someone, this is how I'm feeling, and this is how I've gone about it. And I don't know if I've gone the right way about it. And it's slow. It's one of those things of like confiding in people is like easy and hard at the same time, because you don't know whether that person's worth trusting, or you don't know whether that is a waste of time. Because I have said some stuff to people that like I thought I trusted, and then my trust goes way out the window because it's just like, okay, I said that to you in confidence and you went and did that. Thanks. So it makes you feel pretty shitty when you sit and like, because I used to be one of those people that threw trust out the window and just go, oh, I trust everybody, it's fine. And it's just like, I should learn. So I did. That was the best thing I could really do.
So what would you say currently, like what are some challenges that you personally face with your mental health that you feel like could be better addressed upon?
Better addressed in what, sorry?
Yeah, like something that can something that you're working on to improve, like with your
Ah,
conditions.
um, communication is the biggest thing. That's my major point in that, because like without communication you don't know what's going on, and like trying to handle a type of autism and communicate with people and still have a friendship and a life and be able to just go forward and just go, this is my career, these are my friends, this is my world, hi, and I present. And it's kind of one of those things that should happen more often than it does, because we live in a society where people communicate more through their phones, or just looking at their phones occasionally. And like even when you go out for a drink, there's always someone's phone out. And like I'm guilty as charged for that kind of thing. We all are. But at the same time, it's just like the only conversation that happens is when you're texting somebody, or when you just have to go face to face with them. That's the best. The best is face to face, because when you just sit with someone and just go, can I get this off my chest? And if they have the mental capacity themselves, you just go, okay. And then you're able to talk about it freely and just get that kind of second opinion, or get that kind of like, okay, this is kind of what you need to do, or whether you're in the right or in the wrong. And if you have someone who will be brutally honest with you about it, then that's the best thing for you, because brutal honesty will just go, yeah, that's not a great opinion to have. This is why. And it's just like, what about looking at it from this perspective? Like you can open yourself to all sorts of perspectives, because like some things you never hear and just go, okay, that's a valid point. So you can be able to reach from different directions and just communicate those directions and then learn from it as well. Because without communication, you wouldn't learn.
True that. Um, what do you wish that people understood about autism?
there's not all autism is visible. I didn't realize I was on the autistic spectrum until my mom told me, and then just like, okay, so am I this, am I that? And it's just like, when you think about something, it doesn't seem as big, but the only person it is big to is me. Like, it's a big deal for me, whereas everybody else just goes, no, not
Yeah,
really.
because you live with it at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's when you live with it and it's just like, yeah, I have to worry about this. And it's just like, no, you're doing fine. And it's just like, really? And then just that tiny little bit of sweat, just like, really? I'm doing okay? All right. It's difficult because it's the realization of like all the times that my mom took me to kind of like when I was little, just like to get myself tested for autism and like me being put on the spectrum. And like you don't realize it yourself until someone says it to you. Because living with it is just like, hey, you have this, it's this. And I'm just like, right, okay. And it's like a new thing to you because all you've known is that I'm just a kid. But when someone says you have this thing, and it's just like, okay, so I'm an autistic kid. But it's learning to live with it that comes across, especially as like not every autistic kid has it like the same, because there's physical, there's mental, and there's like the kind of learning curves from it.
So how would you define the learning curves of that?
It's basically how you're able to support it. The learning curves is the support, because one of the big things for me is basically it's a communication disorder, but it's also like on the autistic spectrum. So I kind of need to communicate with people, and it's an everyday thing. So if people are willing to support you with this sort of thing, then you take it, because like if you don't, what are you going to do? You're just going to stand there and just go completely nodding, just like, yeah, mm-hmm, just staying silent? Or are you going to try and rise above something that's literally tearing you down just because you don't feel like you can make friends because they'll think, oh my God, she's an autistic freak, or wah. It's like you've got to get over the negative thoughts to push through. And if people are willing to support you, and like whether it's educationally or socially, it's the best thing you've got.
Yeah, that's well spoken and well said. So what would you say to somebody that has, autism or any of the other conditions that you have? Like, what would you tell them or encourage them to do or go about their life?
The thing I'd encourage them to do is to have conversations, because at the end of the day, you're not going to learn about it just sitting there and just going, I accept that I have this. You research what you have, like people with Asperger's, they research. You should research what you have and understand it more. If you understand the disability, you can figure out how to explain it to people. And one thing that I'm never good at is explaining it to people. And if you can explain it to people and get people to understand, then you can go about just going, so how are you going to support? How are you going to help? If you've said you're willing to help, what's going to be the first step? Because it's the first step is always the most important.
And also too, it's not just you that has to go out and get that kind of help. It's like other people have to be willing to learn and educate themselves further.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of the big things that I love about, it's like, even though it's just like it's a thing I've had since I was born, yeah, it sucks. But at the end of the day, you've got to embrace having it and just go, I love having it because it educates people about this certain thing. Like, I don't know how many people know about my disorder, or if people know about it being on the autistic spectrum, or what it's known as. Because literally, my mum said that they didn't discover what hyperlexia was in the UK until 3 years ago.
3 years ago?
Yeah, apparently.
Damn.
So it's been discovered before, and it's mostly common in the US. It's not really common in the UK. So it's educating people in the UK. Hi, this is a thing that exists. So if you'd like to just put it on your little list, that would be lovely.
Yeah, it's like, please throw money at this so we can help out more people.
Because we never know, there could be more.
Since you live in the UK, what's something that you wish that your country would do better with mental health?
With mental health, I would just advise them to listen, because some as Brits, we are stubborn ass little shits. I can say this because I am a stubborn ass little shit. And like, we are stubborn with things, and how do we get through things? With drink and sarcasm, and also complaining about the weather and awful lot. So being able to sit and listen to somebody, like, we can be polite and enduring, but at the same time, some people can be rude. Like, I've had the kind of thing of just like, when you get those rude customers when you're at work, and like, it's just like, okay, they don't realize I have this thing. But if they're aware of like, this could be a possibility, then they would be more endearing, and they would be actually just like aware of something that they never knew before. And also, like, because I think I've gotten into this before. I remember talking to a customer, and my tone accidentally shifted, like as if I was a little bit pissed off, and then he literally addressed it, and I'm just like, I'm so sorry, it's like, I didn't even realize I was doing that, I have this. And then he's just like, oh, okay, that's fine. And when someone's willing to listen to you just like that, and that's a total stranger, it's like, well, I've just done a job of making someone aware. Okay, that's great. And like, I'm becoming more aware of things too. Like, sometimes when someone walks up to you, you don't get the first impression of like, hi, I have this thing. It's like, sometimes when people like are deaf, I've only noticed that they, when you see them do sign language and do the thank you,
Mm.
and then it's just like, okay, now I understand. It's not obvious. Disabilities are not obvious. Some of them are, absolutely. Some of them, no. You can't, you have to read the person to be able to get to know that. And people should read people more.
Do you get frustrated sometimes having to explain yourself to people? Like, is this a common occurrence for you?
Every time, oh my god, like it's one of those things where it's just like, even if you've explained it to one person 100 times, or would you rather explain it to 100 people once? I like, the one person 100 times, you can just like, no, 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 no. Because like, if you try and explain something and then you just hear the same explanation, I'd rather not have either, because it's the same explanation over and over again. And then you're just going to hear yourself say that constantly and just go, wait, why the hell am I doing this? Why do these people care? Okay. Like, the only people you should be able to explain it to are the people that are willing to get to know you, and the people that are willing to just sit down with you and just go, so what's going on? And it's the best feeling when someone is willing. Because if someone's just sat there for the shits and giggles, and then you explain something to them and they just like give you the look, and then you can just like, okay, there's the door, you can leave now. And like, I've started to be more brutally honest about that, just because, yeah, no, that's not how you do that. And it's being able to have the guts to speak up about it in the first place as well, because I never used to have that. I never used to speak up about it. I'm just like, okay, yeah, I'm just gonna zip, and keep quiet. And then the more I kept quiet, the more I was just like, okay, I feel like I have to explain this again. And you get tired of explaining yourself because some people just constantly ask you about it. And it's just like, well, why does it have to be me that has to tell you? Because sometimes people shouldn't have to tell you. They should say a word, it stick with you, and then you just go, what is on the internet? Because Google is a very great resource.
I'm under the same mentality. I'm like, people, you have a smartphone, access to all the knowledge in the world. Just look at it.
And if you can't use Google, there's Bing.
And there's YouTube. Oh my God.
Oh yes. And then there's just this random thing called Google Scholar where you can read assignments about it. It's brilliant.
Insert Twilight Zone music here.
Yes.
Oh man, relatable as fuck. Goddamn.
Yeah.
So, what do you? I mean, I don't think I've asked this question yet to anybody, but it's something I've been thinking of. Like with your conditions and everything, like what do you love about having it? Like, what kind of do you like the different perspective it gives you on the world, or like I don't know. I hope that's not offensive or anything.
It's definitely not, and I get why you're asking that, because like the first answer that completely comes to mind for me is that I know I'm not like everybody else. Because being aware of having these conditions, it's just like, okay, so the people that don't have it, and there's people, and it's immediately that where I can just put myself in the spot, but I love it. Because if everyone were the same, we would all just be bored out of our minds, we'd just all love the same things, and we wouldn't have the debatable conversations. We wouldn't have, like, the positive and negative always counteract each other. Especially, like, there's a word I absolutely hate, and that's the word perfect. I hate perfect so much because everyone tries to strive to achieve that. And I'm just like, I'd rather be imperfect than perfect. I'd rather be a broken toy than this perfectly put together Barbie doll. Just like standing there, just like, look at me. I am gorgeous. And yeah. And honestly, having this just making me realize that I am different, and that's okay. Especially when you have folks that just go, you have this thing and you're going to learn from it. And that's because they encourage you to learn from it, and they encourage you to build up that momentum, to strive more, to be able to just go, you want to be successful, you're going to have to work for it, because everybody else does. Everybody else works for what they want to do. But there's little things that everyone comes over, like there's a little bridge that you may have to cross, or there's a little bridge you may have to build to get there first. And all of those are different. And whether it's someone who has a physical disability, whether it's someone who has a learning one, a mental one, it's a road that you're going to take, and everyone has different passions. Differences make us who we are. And that's the biggest contributing factor that I can think of for loving having this, because I'm different and I love it.
I'm just taking a moment because I'm like, that was epic.
I love that.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, I gotta bask in that for just a little bit.
Bask in the glory of I'm different, and thank you very much. That is my TED talk.
It's like, breathe it in.
I'm taking this all in right now. Let's go.
Oh, I'm basking in it. Now I've lost my questions. No, it was good. It was very empowering to hear that, and I thank you very much for answering that. Because, like I said, I don't think I can't recall asking that question of anybody yet. And it's just
Hmm.
something that's been, like I said, kinda at the back of my mind, especially with all the different conditions that people have and, like, just trying to figure out, like, how do you love yourself when you have all that, you know?
Yeah, I'm like loving yourself. Everyone goes through different types of loving yourselves. Just like, do I love the way I look? Do I love me in general? I love myself because I'm different. And that's the biggest thing that has to keep me going, because it's just like, I'm going to come over all these things and I'm going to do this and I'm going to set myself realistic goals because that is how I'm going to do this. That is how I'm going to live my life. And yeah, there's a couple of hiccups and I acknowledge that, but it's not going to stop me. If you have something that will not stop you or something that will stop you, then if it's something that will stop you, you're going down the wrong path. If there's something that you just go, nah, I'm going to punch through this wall, go for it. Even if you have to just run at the wall and just jump through it.
And sometimes you need that other person on the wall going, "Hey, Kool-Aid! Oh, yeah!"
Yes, I stand for that. Oh my god, just Kool-Aid. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the code word now, like the safe word, Kool-Aid.
Kool-Aid. Yeah.
Oh god. This is a great episode, by the way.
I agree with you completely.
And I hope everybody else out there is enjoying it as much as we are.
Yeah. Well, a little point to that, just because like I feel like humor gets us through these things as
Yeah.
well, because just like how we can think of it, we can think of it through jokes, we can think of it through sarcasm. That's the best thing we've got, especially like when like us people in the UK, we're very sarcastic and very much on just like the thing of jokes are the only thing that I have. So let's make this into a show. And then all of a sudden you feel like your life is a sitcom.
Hmm.
That's basically how I go about it. Just like, okay, let's see how much of this sitcom episode happens today.
It's a really unique way of looking at it, actually. I don't think I've heard too many people speak about it like that before.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. Like having life as a sitcom would be amazing. But at the same time, it's like your story in your head could be a sitcom if you really wanted it to be. Just make it worth it.
Yeah, you gotta throw in a peacock in there somewhere, then it's a sitcom.
Throw in a peacock, throw in an awesome kind of just like entrance of just like, hi.
Oh my gosh.
And then just all of a sudden you hear an audience laugh and just like, where's that coming from?
Enter WandaVision.
Oh god, I'm in Westview. No.
All right, so we're coming down to the tail end of this. So is there anything, any final, not to sound like I'm putting you on death row or anything, but any final words you want to say?
uh Final words. Basically communicate, research, and being different is not bad. Because if you're if you're just going to go into something, you've got to know what you're getting into, and you've got to know if your friends or your family will be there for you and are willing to say, how can I help?
Mhm.
Because if you get those words, or it's just like, can I help in any way, best start you can have. And obviously researching is always essential, especially as you have libraries with books if you don't like the internet. And then the internet, obviously you have a whole wide range of all that in one computer. Like there's so many ways to look at it, and like the being different, don't be afraid to be different, because we all have our differences, whether it's an opinion, music taste, video game taste, television programs. Like in everyday life we are different, so being a different person shouldn't be a problem.
Again, I am basking.
I
I am a lizard in the
moment.
sun. And I am doing push-ups and being like, yep, vibing with this.
I have my moments. Thank you very much.
Seriously, what a great way to end that off. Yeah, Yasmin, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast and sharing your story with, with me and anyone who's listening. And just thank you for being so vulnerable and open and, honest about what you go through.
Thank you for allowing me to do that, because you never find a good time to talk about it unless you're willing to have that discussion. So
hey, I'm on the same mindset, man. Like the
yeah.
more we talk, the more we talk about it, normalize it, the better it's gonna get for people.
Especially it's a normal thing we all go through. So it's like, even though it's just like, yeah, it could be triggering to some people, but at the end of the day, it's a thing that happens. And if we don't get used to it, then what the hell else are we gonna do?
Exactly. So, guys, that was another episode of Peer2Peer with your weird ass host, Jay. And we had the beautiful Yasmin on here.
You're beautiful too.
Oh, thank you. If you guys would like to share your story or would like to be on the podcast, you can reach out to me on my Twitter account. I go by @KitchenRaptorJ. And also you can contact me via email at jrex1463@gmail.com. And also too, Peer2Peer is available not just on Anchor, but on YouTube as well for more accessibility. Again, we had the lovely Yasmin, and thank you for listening.